Guess who's here to chat news with myself? It's John Ramdeen and Robin Black. We have lots to discuss. Let us start off with Cris Cyborg Justino, who is scheduled to headline Saturday night against Lena Landsberg at 140 pounds, which was the weight she fought Leslie Smith at back in May. And this week, typically, we do a lot of fight week interviews, and you get a lot of answers from fighters. Best camp ever, can't wait to get in there, feel 110%. Well, Cris Cyborg was on the MMA Hour stating she is very concerned about this weight cut. As of Monday, she had about 25 pounds to cut, and she has also been prescribed by her nutritionist George Lockhart to get on birth control to assist her in this weight cut. And then in this video blog she posted was just very upset about where her body was at during fight week going into this. So it's led to many questions about how smooth of a cut this is going to be, and also adding that the UFC wants her to get to 140. She's not going to get a 1 pound allowance, which is very strange. So there's many questions going into these weigh-ins involving Cris Cyborg and the viability of this woman continuing to cut weight, which, Robin, I know you can't wait to discuss more of.
Well, my angle on this conversation isn't even about her weight. To be honest, it's like, I was watching this. Bear with me for a second. My wife and I were watching Dancing with the Stars, and Ryan Lochte was on Dancing with the Stars. Why was Ryan Lochte on Dancing with the Stars? Because it creates controversy. Ryan Lochte was on Dancing with the Stars because they wanted controversy. Why did they want controversy? Because controversy sells. Everybody wants controversy. They want F-bombs and stories and conflict and trouble and stress, and it makes stars. This is the case with her. She's a brilliant fighter, big and strong and powerful, but there's an ongoing nonstop discussion about her weight forever, and we should keep that going if we're her, and if we're the UFC, and if we're Lockhart, because we're talking about it forever. She made 140 a couple of months ago. She's more than capable of doing it again, and George Lockhart is the very best in the game. But if we make a big thing and tapes and interviews and podcasts and blogs, then we'll keep talking about it, and more people will be interested in her fight.
Well, we are going to find out this Friday. I think it's very strange that she has to make 140.
Yeah.
It seems like the UFC is just adamant that this woman's going to get down to 135. And I mean, how many years are we going to talk about this 135 myth? That there's no interest on her part to make this. It's not going to happen. So why are we just in the middle here?
I think it's because you pointed it out, because of this whole UFC purchase. They have an obligation to make X amount of dollars. And yes, you're going to make money with Cyborg if she keeps doing what she's doing. But the biggest money fights for Cyborg are at 135 pounds.
You're right.
If they can somehow entice Ronda Rousey, or if they can entice Holly Holm to take these fights, which I know they will, these are the biggest fights that they can make, and that's what it comes down to.
She made 140 already, and again, the conversation about it just keeps the thing going. I really respect the way she's handling this. It's very smart. And it may not be by design. If it was Chael Sonnen, we would know it was by design. But in her case, we're almost there. We're not sure. I made it one time, but what about this 1 pound? Look how hard it was. Birth control, all of these things. And then ultimately, by that point, she's such a big star, she doesn't have to do it. That's smart. Do that. Just keep this thing going. Maybe you'll do it, maybe you won't. By the time you say, I won't do it, you've had 5 great fights, knocked out 4 girls, and looked brilliant, and we're all very invested. It's smart. If she wanted to go to 135, she'd already be there. It's a long road to cut a little bit of muscle, 10 pounds of muscle, but it can be done. She doesn't want to do it, so don't make her do it.
And at the same time, now people are going to be interested to tune in to the weigh-ins. They're going to monitor to see if Cyborg actually makes the weight, or if the fight's going to be scrapped.
No, they're going to know Friday morning.
They are going to know Friday. Not everybody's going to know Friday morning. People in the know are going to know Friday morning. But, I mean, you can understand why this would be a selling point for Cyborg, because it keeps people attached to it.
Yeah, 100%. Any conversation that keeps going on forever. And this one, if you want to get people really worked up on the underground, you just raise this conversation. Engagement, that's what everybody's after. Whether that is Dancing with the Stars or what's that chef, Master Chef? That guy's dropping F-bombs constantly on network TV. Everybody wants engagement, and the way you create engagement is you create debate and controversy and conflict. And this is one of those things.
UFC 205, it's gone through many different problems going into this. We don't really have any official fights announced by the UFC at this point. Chris Weidman, it's not finalized. He's going to fight Yoel Romero. Al Iaquinta has gone off to go sell real estate instead of fighting and has been very adamant about his pay situation. And this to me is just something that is prevalent around the sport at this point. It seems a lot of fighters in the wake of the sale and everything that they have lost with the Reebok deal are starting to question this, and it used to be privately when you would hear people discussing their pay issues.
Because they were afraid before. They were afraid that if they say something, they'd be cut from the UFC, and their opportunity to make a lot of money in the game of mixed martial arts, that's no longer there. But now that you see, wait a second, word is Rory McDonald's getting paid $500,000 for Bellator. Ben Henderson's getting paid $300,000. There are other options now for a lot of these fighters. And if you're vocal, who knows? Maybe the UFC will give, oh, you're a star. We think that we can help build you. Yes, we'll renegotiate. Or, no, take a hike. And at least they'll know, and then they can pursue other options.
Does anybody in this room and watching at home have any friends that are not currently talking about how they'd like to make more money?
Right.
I mean, every one of us, in every job that we all do, we want to make more money. The difference is these guys have a voice and a platform, and Raging Al has 40,000 Twitter followers, and as soon as you speak up, again, debate and conflict and discussion and argument is powerful. So Raging Al just saying nothing would get him no engagement and no people behind him. Raging Al saying these things publicly now is empowering. The being loud is actually a very powerful thing these days. And it's going to be an interesting one to watch. On the other hand, and I'm the biggest Raging Al guy, like serious, huge fan. But you got to have leverage when you go to do something, and saying, I'm going to give up my chance to fight my dream is not leverage. So he's not going to win this one, unfortunately, sadly. But I'll tell you, I'd buy a house off Al. I really would. I absolutely would. And I really hope he comes back. I hope they pay him a lot more money, and I hope he comes back, because that's a great fighter. He was 1 or 2 key wins away from everybody knowing how brilliant he was. A lot of UFC fans do know, but Raging Al's a legit, ultra legit guy, and super interesting.
I think everyone at this table can sympathize with fighters and what a level of an Al Iaquinta should be making versus what he is. I guess there's a number of arguments to this. A, he did sign a contract for this. Now, he also outlined the fact he signed this before
the Reebok
deal. Yeah. And that's how you have to look at this. It's the UFC is going to stand by this. A, to your point, this is Al Iaquinta. And this is somebody that if he's not on that Madison Square Garden card, it's not going to affect whether this is a success or a failure. And that.
But what about the future? Aren't you trying to build for the future? Because right now, you look at some of the stars. Daniel Cormier's not competing. John Jones is out. Conor was rumored to be on this New York card. That doesn't look like that's happening. We're waiting for Ronda Rousey. Anderson Silva's in his 40s. George St. Pierre doesn't look like he's coming back to the sport. Aren't you looking at the future? Who is the next crop of fighters that are going to help make you millions and millions of dollars? You have to look at some of the interesting ones. I'm not saying that Al Iaquinta is one of those guys, but he's been very vocal, has a very exciting fighting style, works with a good team. So I think that the UFC needs to look at the next wave, the next crop of fighters that could be potential stars and make them a lot of money.
It's our natural inclination to put ourselves in Al Iaquinta's shoes, and we should, and that we relate to that. But if you're trying to figure out why this is happening, put yourself in the shoes, pretend you own the UFC, or pretend you're one of the guys running it, or a shareholder, or whatever. And you look at it, and the answer that you're like, why wouldn't they just give him more money? It's because if you give him more money, and he says, I'm not fighting without more money, and you give in, everybody's going to say, I'm not fighting without more money. Every single one of them, they're like, wait, that works? Oh, shit, I'm going to do that. So that's why they do that. Doesn't make it right. Al Iaquinta, we'd love to see him get more money, but that's how fucking business works.
We are going to be back on Saturday night, 1-hour preview show going over Saturday's card from Brasilia, which is headlined by Cris Cyborg, Justino, and Lena Landsberg, as well as the return of Hendon Barao as he takes on Philip Nover.